morning. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Saturday Morning Tea with Author JB. This is your girl, Author JB. But before we get into the tea, I wanted to take some time out to thank you for your comments and topic suggestions. All of them are very encouraging to me, so please keep them coming. Wanted to make sure I took that time out to say thank you. But wow, what a difference a week makes, right? In just a matter of a few weeks, the entire world has turned topsy-turvy and our lives have changed tremendously. We are restricted to our homes for a period, uncertain about our futures in a sense. But this confinement can make some people very anxious and depressed because of the imposed temporary inconveniences. Those persons' sufferings are short-lived, we hope, but there are those out there that have been suffering for years and they continue to suffer even through this life-changing experience. They're suffering in silence. For those folks, outside distractions are a lifesaver. They'd much rather have the outside distractions and put on masks pretending that everything is okay than to deal with those things that plague their thoughts and cause so much pain to them. I was one of those people. I used whatever I could to drown out the pain, from drug and alcohol abuse to promiscuous behavior. Did whatever I had to do to drown out the noise. I carried that pain for years, way into adulthood, before I decided I would not suffer in silence any longer. At just 11 years old, I was invited over to a neighbor's house, a man that was about 21, 22 at the time. He and I would occasionally get high together because I started smoking marijuana when I was about 10 years old, along with indulging in alcohol beverages. And he would provide those things for me. Anyway, or to me. Anyways, he invited me over to smoke with him that day, and I went over. I didn't know that all of the previous friendly encounters between us was leading up to what would happen that day. But after we got high together, he molested me. And after he was done with me, he told me, go clean yourself up. We don't want no babies around here. I had no clue what the man was talking about as far as babies were concerned. I was so young and naive, I didn't know that I could even get pregnant at 11 years old. He told me not to tell anyone, and I did keep that promise for 21 years. I was about 31 when I shared that with my mother, and she was shocked and disgusted, to say the least. She asked me why didn't I tell her before then, and I told her I didn't know, but I knew why. It was because I didn't think it was wrong, for two reasons. Pedophilia was common back in those days, especially where I grew up. I seen too much, too soon, too young. And the other sad reason was because I thought he loved me. As an 11-year-old child, that was all I wanted. I wanted to be loved. Even as an adult woman, I was screaming inside, will someone please love me? I didn't feel loved or lovable. So I accepted it from whomever and wherever I could get it, even from a pedophile. This opened the door for a life of bad experiences and bad decisions. I went to the church for love, and I was even hurt there. After that hurt, I thought God didn't love me either, which solidified my idea I was just not lovable. I had so much pain bottled up inside of me. I felt like I was going to lose my mind. And throughout the years, I've been diagnosed with manic depression, anxiety, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and mood disorders. But all I was in search for was true agape love. I was crying out for it, willing to die for it. I allowed myself to be beaten, and one time beaten almost to death for it. But after that person said they loved me, I overlooked the black eyes and swollen lips and face and bruised body caused by being beaten with a brass ring and a pistol, while being sexually assaulted with that same pistol put to my head, all while carrying my baby. But I forgave him for it, didn't leave him for years because I felt that was his way of showing me love. But let me be clear, that was not love. That definitely was not love, and any form of abuse is not love. But I will be discussing walking away from abuse when walking away isn't easy in an upcoming episode. But I digress. Nevertheless, believing I was unlovable was my nemesis, a nemesis that brought so much suffering in my life. At some point, I can't pinpoint when exactly, I think it was when I got diagnosed with cancer I decided I was not going to suffer anymore in silence because I knew that it was going to kill me because it was causing so much stress. I knew that it was detrimental. Because when you're holding on to so much in your mind just won't turn off. So I decided I would not suffer in silence anymore. And that is one of the reasons I share so much of my testimony with the world, and I open up myself. But these are examples of mine of suffering in silence. But there are people right now that are quarantined with their abusers. There are children whose only break from abuse was going to school. There are those who are dealing with mental illness like depression, anxiety, and other illnesses that are suffering, that are embarrassed to share that information. Suffering in silence does not exempt Christians either, because pain doesn't discriminate. However, suffering in silence is a choice. We can't always control what happens to us, but we can control how we deal with it. There are pastors and ministers and priests all suffering in silence, committing suicide because they could not open up and share their feelings. You want to know why? Because some of us think it's better to put on masks and pretend that everything is all right and that we're winning and living our best life, because we believe we have to be strong and show no signs of weakness. Although we are social beings and we break bread with others, laugh with others, it is so hard for us to share those intimate things and feelings and emotions with others because we don't want to be a burden on others. Take your problems to Jesus is what I heard for many years. And I know I'm not the only person. And it hurts me to know that so many people, especially in the church, are suffering in silence because they believe if they show weakness by sharing their inner thoughts and feelings, it will show a lack of faith. That is certainly not true. Even people who are not religious believe that showing any signs of emotions is a weakness, especially men. I think this is very common with men, though. They feel any sign of emotion is a sign of weakness, and that is certainly not true. Women are emotional beings, but as emotional as we are, it's still hard for us to share our inner thoughts and feelings. Like when I was diagnosed with cancer, I tried to be tough because when I tried to talk about it with people in the church, they insinuated that I had no faith because I was upset and scared about having cancer at the time. They called me an immature saint. After that, I just wouldn't talk to them anymore, but I needed to talk to someone that I could trust, someone that would listen to my heart. So I reached out to my big sister friend, and I told her that I was scared. She hugged me and she said to me, "I know you are, Jennifer." And honestly, that was all I needed, just someone to understand how I was feeling and to allow me to be weak at that moment. When we suffer in silence, it causes our thoughts to intensify, making our minds the devil's playground. It makes us feel like we are alone, and we certainly are not alone. You are not alone. It slows down our healing process. It stifles us from being authentic by hindering us from walking in our truth. You see, the definition of silence is the absence of noise. It's quietness. How do we counter that? The first thing, we talk about it. We make some noise. Find someone that we can trust, that we can talk to. It could be a spiritual counselor, family member, friend, or professional, but you must talk about it. Be weak. Take off the mask. It's okay. We are human. We don't always have to be strong. Besides, momentary weakness does not mean you are weak. If you don't like to talk about it, write about it. Journaling is an awesome tool. Write down your thoughts. In your private journals, you can be you. Let your hair down. Let it out. Take off the mask. And I am planning to put together some personal journal books that will be available for purchase from my website, and I will surely keep you posted on them. But after those thoughts are disclosed, we should start thinking happy thoughts. Try to stay positive about life and the things that we have. Speak positive things to our lives. And the way to do that is surround yourself with positive people. Be intentional when putting your tribe together, because being around people with a lot of negative energy will chip away at you and intensify your negative thoughts. Exercising shuts down the mind. Also, giving back or doing something selfless helps to get your mind off things. I have found peace myself in prayer. That works for me, and it probably will work for you. But these are some of the ways to start your process of healing from the pain you're holding inside and feeling. But to get to the root, you must first break the silence. Some of us are still holding on to things that happened to us when we was 4 years old. We are grieving over divorces that happened 10 years ago, loss of loved ones and diagnoses. Some are unhappy in marriages right now and too embarrassed to talk about it, but you don't have to be. You're being abused and you're embarrassed, you're angry and you're scared and don't know how to deal with it. Talk to someone. Just like I would encourage a child, I'm encouraging you. Tell somebody about it. Because as we are dreaming bigger and building legacy and pursuing and thinking and acting bigger, we must deal with the pain that is constantly chipping away at us. We can never be fulfilled if we are not made whole. The wholeness is the key. So take off the mask, get to the root, expose it, deal with it, and move on from it. Don't suffer in silence. Because you don't have to. It's time to let it go. There is so much freedom on the other side of suffering. And for those of you who are suffering from fear during this time of uncertainty, just know that we will get through this. United we stand, and divided we will fall. And let me say something else. We would have differences of opinions and not agree on everything during this coronavirus. And that's okay to agree to disagree, but we must come together because when we do, it helps to mitigate the depression and anxiety that others are feeling. All it takes is us to do our part. That's all it takes. No one else has to lead us on that. Just do your part. But God bless us and everyone around the world. Okay? Well, I've come to the end of this episode, and I hope that you can find something that you can apply to your own life. This is Author J.B. Allen signing out. And until next episode, dream big because you, my dear, are worth it.